Monte Cassino by Henry Longfellow. Beautiful valley, through whose verdant meads Unheard the Garigliano glides along, the Liris, nurse of rushes and of reeds, the taciturn of classic song. The land of labor and the land of rest, the mediaeval towns are wide on all, the hillside and where every mountain's crest is an Etrurian or a Roman wall. There's Alagna, where Pope Boniface was dragged of contumely from his throne. Sciarra Colonna was where day's disgrace, the Pontifice only or in part thine own. There's Ceprano, where a renegade was each Apulian, as great Dante said, when Manfred by his men-at-arms betrayed Spurred on to Benevento and to death. There's Aquinum, the old Volscian town, where Juvenal was born, whose lurid lights that hovers o'er his birthplace like the crown of splendor seen o'er cities in the night. Double the splendor is, that in its street the angelic doctor as a schoolboy played, and dreamed perhaps the dreams that he repeats in ponderous folios for scholastic maid. And where, uplifted like a passing cloud that pauses on a mountain's summit high, Monte Cassino's convent rears its proud and venerable walls against the sky. Well I remember how on foot I climbed the stony pathway leading to its gate. Above the convent bells for whispers chimmed, below the darkening town grew desolate. Well I remember the low arch and dark, the courtyard with its well, the terrace wide from which far down, the valley like a park veiled in evening mists was dim descried. The day was dying and the feeble hands caressed the mountain tops. The valleys between darkened, the river and the meadowlands sheathed itself as a sword and wasn't seen. The silence of the place was like a sleep, so full of rest it seemed. Each passing tree was a reverberation from the deep recesses of the ages that are dead. For more than 13 centuries ago, Benedict, fleeing from the gates of Rome, a youth disgusted with its vice and woe, sought in these mountain solitudes a home. He founded here his convent and his rule of prayer and work, and counted work as prayer. The pen became a clarion and the school flamed like a beacon in the midnight air. What for Boccaccio in his reckless way, mocking the lazy brotherhood, deplores the illuminated manuscripts that lay torn and neglected on the dusty floors? Boccaccio was a novelist, a child of fancy and of fiction at the best. This viewer and librarian said, and smiled, incredulous as at some idle jest. Upon such themes as these, one young friar sat conversing late into the night, till in its cavernous chimney the wood fire had burned its heart out like an anchorite. And then translated in my convent cell, myself, yet not myself in dreams I lay, and as a monk who hears the matin bell, started from sleep, already it was day. From the high window beheld the scene on which St. Benedict so oft had gazed, the mountains and the valley in the sheen of a bright sun, and stood as one amazed. Grey mists were rolling, rising, vanishing, woodlands glistered with their jewelled crowns. Far off the mellow bells began to ring for matins in the half-awakened town. The conflict of the present and the past, the ideal and the actual in our life, as when a field of battle held me fast, where this world and the next world were at strife. For, as the valley from its sleep awoke, I saw the iron horses of esteem, tossed to the morning air their plums of smoke, and woke as one awaketh from a dream.